The watch was scheduled to last until 6 in the morning, but no one remained at their post after 3. The observation point had been chosen for a simple reason. From that low ridge, it overlooked a section of the valley where, in previous months, several environmental cameras had stopped transmitting without any apparent technical cause. It was not a tourist site or an active trail. During the day, it received almost no visitors. At night, none. Miles Corrigan was not part of any agency. He had agreed to cover the shift because he knew the terrain and because the pay compensated for the isolation. His task was to stay inside the vehicle, log movement using a fixed camera, and report any after-hours human activity. Nothing more, nothing heroic. The first hour passed without incident. The engine off, lights covered, the interior dimly lit by the dashboard. He logged normal sounds. Irregular wind, the occasional fall of branches, a small animal crossing the dirt road. Everything fit. Around 02, the environment changed in a subtle way. There was no single noise that alerted him, but rather an accumulation of silence. The wind stopped completely. The valley became still. Miles lowered the radio volume and rested his hand on the steering wheel, attentive. The first contact was so slight that he doubted he had felt it. A brief pressure on the rear of the vehicle, as if someone had leaned against it to look inside. He checked the mirrors. Nothing. He noted the time. The second contact was clearer. The chassis shifted slightly, enough for the suspension to respond. Miles turned on the flashlight and aimed it toward the side window without opening the door. The beam did not reach beyond the nearby vegetation. Then something passed in front of the hood. It was not fast. It was not clumsy. The silhouette moved from left to right at very close range, too tall to be that close to the ground. He could not make out features, but the proportions did not match any animal common to the area. Miles tried to record. The camera fell from its mount when the vehicle received a lateral shove. Not a wild impact, but a sustained force that pushed the wheels across the gravel. The sound of metal under strain was partially captured. The headlights came on abruptly. For an instant, he saw dark hair matted with mud, a limb flexing against the hood, and fresh marks appearing where there had been none before. The watch ended there. Not because the schedule had been completed, but because the vehicle was no longer where it should have been, because the equipment was rendered unusable, and because remaining still was no longer a reasonable option. Dawn found the post empty. The night, clearly, had decided otherwise. The record was not written the same night. It was reconstructed weeks later from scattered notes, markings in a waterproof notebook, and an incomplete voice recording that cut off before dawn. Eamon Price, 46, was participating as a civilian observer in an informal nighttime operation in the eastern area of the Trinity Alps. It was not an official expedition, nor a recreational camp. 3 people rotated shifts to monitor a sector where acts of sabotage against environmental monitoring cameras had been reported. They were not looking for animals, they were looking for human culprits. The night progressed without incident until 01:17. Eamon was alone at the elevated position, seated against a rock with partial visibility of the valley. There was no moon, the thermal equipment was malfunctioning due to humidity. In the recording, his voice can be heard low and routine, describing normal sounds, water, branches, insects. Then it stops. In his later notes, Eamon describes an abrupt change in the environment, not a specific sound, but the disappearance of sound itself. The valley became empty, as if an invisible door had been closed. He wrote that he felt pressure in his ears, similar to a rapid change in altitude. Seconds later, he detected movement to the left. He did not see it arrive, it was simply there. The figure did not cross his field of view the way an animal would. It rose from behind the vegetation, already upright. Its height caught his attention immediately, but even more so its posture. The body leaning forward, arms hanging with unnatural length, the head lowered, reflecting no light. Eamon attempted to focus. The thermal device showed an irregular mass, too large, with cold zones where uniform heat should have appeared. He thought the equipment was failing until the figure took a step. The ground vibrated, not violently, but distinctly, a deliberate step. There was no vocalization, no display, only slow advance. Eamon retreated without standing, using the rock as cover. At that moment, the creature accelerated. It did not run, it closed the distance with two long, silent movements and stopped less than 15 meters away. The smell arrived first, damp, earthy, with an acidic component that irritated the throat. The creature raised its head. According to Eamon, the eyes did not shine. They absorbed what little light was available. They remained fixed on him for several seconds. Then came what disturbed him most. It turned its head, not toward him, but toward the trail where he knew the other two observers would return later, as if it had detected them without seeing them. Eamon broke protocol. He activated the emergency flare. The light flooded the area for 3 seconds, long enough to see the broad torso, skin covered with irregular dark hair, and an old scar crossing the shoulder, long enough to confirm it was not a man. When the light died, the creature was gone. Eamon descended from the position without waiting for relief. The other two found him halfway down, disoriented, with mild bleeding from the nose, and without the thermal equipment, which was never recovered. The operation was canceled that same week. Eamon never again participated in night surveillance. He does not speak of an attack, but neither does he call it a sighting. He says he was evaluated, and that was worse. The post was recorded as abandoned at 02:48, although the shift was scheduled to continue until dawn. There was no prior communication and no request for relief. The area corresponds to a lightly traveled sector of the Trinity Alps, used occasionally to control unauthorized access. Luther Hale had been assigned to perimeter surveillance for a single night. The procedure was basic: foot patrols, visual verification, and remaining inside a lightweight structure with no electrical connection. There were no relevant prior records associated with the site, aside from minor after-hours entry incidents. The first irregularity was detected during the 2340 round. Luther reported, via written note, a change in soil compaction near the northern boundary. He did not identify clear footprints or tool marks. The ground showed scattered depressions, inconsistent with normal human movement. At 01:57, he returned to the post and remained silent for nearly an hour. No radio transmissions were logged. During that interval, repetitive sounds occurred around the structure, later described as slow, spaced footsteps with no erratic pattern. Luther opened the front door at 01:19. He observed no visible presence. However, the sounds continued moving around the immediate perimeter. The structure experienced mild vibrations on the west side, followed by increased pressure against the exterior wall. The wood did not fracture, but it yielded enough to shift the post several centimeters across the ground. From inside, deep breathing was detected at close range with no associated vocalization. Luther did not respond with acoustic signals or attempt direct visual contact. At 01:31, he exited the post through the rear opening. During his movement, he reported an intense, damp, persistent odor, unidentified. Approximately 20 meters from the site, he used a handheld flashlight and observed a large figure partially visible among the trees. The form did not react to the light and moved in a controlled manner into vegetative cover without producing noticeable sound. Luther withdrew from the area without returning to the post. The route to the main road was completed without pauses. No pursuit or subsequent sounds were recorded. The site was inspected at dawn. The structure showed lateral displacement, mild deformation on one wall, and deep markings in the surrounding soil without defined footprints. The equipment remained intact. Surveillance was canceled indefinitely. The official reason was not specified. The order was to remain visible. Night surveillance in that sector of the Trinity Alps was not conducted from hidden positions or with covert cameras. The strategy aimed to deter human presence by showing constant activity, moving flashlights, regular footsteps, hourly logs. It worked well against the curious and against looters. It had never required anything more. Noah Whitcomb had been covering the western shift of the perimeter for 2 nights. He worked alone, on foot, with a short-range radio and a temporary base nearly a kilometer downhill. The terrain was uneven, with rocky outcrops and sections of dense forest where visibility vanished within a few steps. At 23:48, he logged the last normal check. 10 minutes later, the radio emitted a brief burst of noise like static interference and went dead. Noah checked the equipment, changed channels, adjusted the antenna. Nothing. He noted the failure and continued the patrol as established. The attack happened without any prior audible warning. There were no screams, no running, no obvious snapping of branches before the impact. Something emerged from the right side of the trail and struck him at torso level with enough force to throw him to the ground. The air was driven from his lungs instantly. The flashlight flew several meters and went out when it hit a rock. Noah tried to get up, but a brutal pressure pinned him to the earth. He felt weight concentrated on his back, not distributed like that of a 4-legged animal. Something was moving over him with control, adjusting its position. The smell came next, strong, damp, with a metallic component that burned his throat. He tried to shout, but only managed to expel air. The second blow was not to his body, but to the ground, centimeters from his head. The compacted soil split open as if struck by a heavy tool. Noah understood that he was not being attacked to be killed, but neither to be chased off. A hand, not a claw, gripped his shoulder and dragged him several meters off the trail. The force was precise. It did not tear his clothing. It did not lift him. It moved him as if his weight offered no resistance. When the pressure ceased, Noah remained motionless. He heard footsteps retreating through the vegetation, slow, steady. It did not pursue him. It did not return. Several minutes passed before he could move. He crawled until he reached the broken flashlight and managed to turn it on. The beam revealed deep impressions in the soil, spaced too far apart, and flattened vegetation forming a semicircle around the initial point. Noah walked back to the base with difficulty, using the light only when necessary. He arrived before 1 in the morning. The shift ended at that moment, without discussion. The official report spoke of an assault by unidentified wildlife. No night patrols were conducted for the following weeks. The sector was removed from direct surveillance. Noah never patrolled at night again, not because of the injuries, which healed, but because he understood that the presence he encountered did not react at random. It responded to visibility, to occupation of space, to the act of surveillance itself. And it made clear, directly, that the night had ended early.